Syria sits at one of the most consequential crossroads in the world. Officially the Syrian Arab Republic, it is located in West Asia, in the eastern Mediterranean and the Levant. To the west is the Mediterranean Sea. To the north is Turkey. Iraq lies to the east and southeast, Jordan to the south, and Israel and Lebanon to the southwest. This geography is not just a map detail. It helps explain why Syria has been shaped by trade, empire, religion, migration, and war for thousands of years. Today, Syria is a country of around 26 million people across about 185,000 square kilometers, divided into 14 governorates. Its capital and largest city, Damascus, is one of the most historically important cities in the region. To understand modern Syria, we have to begin with the land itself. Syria's landscape is more varied than many outsiders imagine. It includes fertile plains, coastal areas, high mountains, broad plateaus, and deserts. The western part of the country connects to the Mediterranean world, while the interior opens toward Mesopotamia and the Arabian deserts. This mixture made Syria both a meeting point and a boundary zone. Caravans, armies, pilgrims, and merchants moved through it, linking Asia, Africa, and Europe. Fertile regions supported cities and agriculture, while strategic routes made those cities valuable to larger powers. Geography also influenced settlement patterns and political control. A government that holds Damascus, Aleppo, the coast, and the major highways has historically held more than territory. It has controlled the arteries that connect Syria to the region around it. The name Syria has a long and complicated history. In earlier periods, it often referred not only to the modern state, but to a much wider region sometimes called Greater Syria or Syria-Palestine. That broader region included areas that today belong to several different countries. This matters because modern borders are relatively recent, while cultural and historical connections are much older. The territory of modern Syria includes sites associated with ancient kingdoms and civilizations, including the Eblan civilization. Over many centuries, the region came under the influence of empires that valued its cities, roads, and ports. Syria was not a quiet periphery. It was repeatedly a center of administration, culture, and power within larger imperial systems. Damascus is central to that story. It has served as more than a capital on paper, it has been a symbol of continuity. During the Umayyad Caliphate, Damascus was the seat of one of the most important Islamic empires in history. Later, under the Mamluk Sultanate, it functioned as a provincial capital. Its importance came from location, trade, religion, and administration. Cities like Damascus show how Syrian history cannot be reduced to the modern nation-state alone. Long before independence, the region had deep urban traditions and political importance. When modern Syria eventually emerged in the 20th century, it inherited not only borders and institutions, but also a powerful memory of being connected to much larger Arab, Islamic, and Mediterranean histories. The modern Syrian state took shape after centuries of Ottoman rule. When the Ottoman Empire collapsed after the First World War, former Ottoman provinces in the region were reorganized under European influence. Syria became a French mandate, meaning France administered the territory under an international framework. For many Syrians, this was not true self-rule, but another form of outside control. Still, the mandate period helped define institutions, borders, and political movements that would affect the future state. Syria became the largest Arab state to emerge from the formerly Ottoman-ruled Syrian provinces. The struggle for independence was not only about removing foreign troops. It was also about deciding what kind of state Syria would become. Syria gained de jure independence as a parliamentary republic in 1945, when the First Syrian Republic became a founding member of the United Nations. This act legally ended the French Mandate. But legal independence and practical sovereignty were not exactly the same thing. French troops did not withdraw until April 1946, which is why that moment is often treated as the point of de facto independence. The early independent republic carried great hopes, but also serious pressures. It had to build state institutions, manage regional tensions, and define its identity in a rapidly changing Arab world. Independence gave Syria a seat among nations, but it did not automatically create political stability. The post-independence era quickly became turbulent. Between 1949 and 1971, Syria experienced multiple coups and coup attempts. This repeated military intervention weakened parliamentary politics and made the army a central actor in national life. In 1958, Syria entered a brief pan-Arab union with Egypt called the United Arab Republic. For supporters, it represented Arab unity and a response to regional fragmentation. But the union was short-lived. It ended after a 1961 coup d'état. The episode revealed a recurring tension in Syrian politics, the pull between national sovereignty, Arab unity, military power, and civilian government. Rather than stabilizing the country, the decades after independence created a pattern of contested authority. A major turning point came in 1963, when a coup carried out by the Military Committee of the Dictatorship Party established a one-party state. The Dictatorship Party promoted Arab nationalism, socialism, and centralized rule, but in practice, power became increasingly concentrated in military and security structures. Syria was governed under martial law from 1963 to 2011. Internal struggles within Ba'athist factions produced further coups in 1966 and 1970. The 1970 coup brought Hafez al-Assad to power. Under Assad, the Syrian state became more stable in one sense, but less open in another. Political competition narrowed, security agencies expanded, and loyalty to the ruling system became essential for advancement. Hafez al-Assad built a durable authoritarian system that linked the presidency, the military, the Ba'ath Party, and intelligence services. Syria under Assad was formally a republic, but real power was highly centralized. When Hafez died in 2000, his son Bashar al-Assad succeeded him, turning the system into a hereditary dictatorship in practice. Bashar initially generated some expectations of reform, but the core structure of power remained. The state continued to rely on controlled politics and coercive institutions. This background is crucial for understanding what happened in 2011. The uprising that began during the Arab Spring did not erupt in a vacuum. It emerged from decades of political exclusion, repression, social pressures, and unresolved demands for change. In 2011, protests in Syria became part of the wider Arab Spring, but the Syrian crisis soon developed into a multi-sided civil war. What began as unrest against authoritarian rule escalated into armed conflict involving the government, opposition forces, militias, extremist groups, and foreign powers. The war caused one of the world's major refugee crises, with more than 6 million people displaced from the country. Millions more were displaced internally. Cities were damaged, communities were divided, and the economy deteriorated. The conflict also became internationalized, because Syria's location and alliances made the outcome important to regional and global actors. By this point, Syria was no longer governed as a unified political space in the way it once had been. The rise of the Islamic State added another layer to the war. In 2014 and 2015, the group made rapid territorial gains in Syria and Iraq, capturing towns, resources, and strategic routes. Its expansion triggered intervention by several countries, each backing different factions or pursuing different security goals. By 2017, the Islamic State had suffered territorial defeat in central and eastern Syria, but the broader conflict did not end. In the aftermath, 3 political entities emerged in Syrian territory to challenge Assad's rule: the Syrian Interim Government, the Syrian Salvation Government, and the Democratic Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria. This fragmentation showed that Syria's crisis was not only about who ruled Damascus, but also about competing systems of governance across the country. In late 2024, Syria entered another dramatic phase. A series of offensives by a coalition of opposition forces led to the capture of Damascus and the fall of Assad's regime. By 2025, the country faced an immense transition. Years of war and international sanctions had left the economy in poor condition, although sanctions were later eased. In March 2025, a Syrian transitional government replaced the caretaker government under the new president, Ahmed al-Shara. Yet the deepest questions remained unresolved: how to rebuild institutions, manage diverse communities, return refugees, revive the economy, and create legitimacy after decades of dictatorship and war. Syria is home to many ethnic and religious groups, with Arabs the largest ethnic group and Sunni Muslims the largest religious group. Its future will depend on whether that diversity can be represented in a stable political order. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.